handlers out there, if you're looking for agencies to work at, I recommend, if you're a prospective wanting to get into law enforcement, or you want to work a dog, go do ride-alongs with the guys and kind of get the inside of like what's the department culture.
I get the amount of DMs and whatnot I get of, hey, do you have like an idea of how to, what can I do? Because my trainer won't let me do this. My trainer won't let me go to other trainings. I get that all the time. It's wild.
If you're a trainer and you're telling your guys to not look anywhere else for information, and you're scolding them when they do, or they go to a seminar and they take their own money and they go somewhere to learn something, and then they bring it back and you tell them never to bring any information back from another unit, not to go to another unit. And if we find you training with anybody else, you're going to be removed from the unit. Like, what are you hiding?
Welcome to Police Canine Radio. With us, Worthless Handler. I'm Gregg Tawney. With me, Rich Hartman. Rich, what's going on?
I got to hang out with your basic handler class today.
I apologize for that.
Really good guys. I overestimated their ability to do a couple things at the same time. They're
listening.
I know it was my fault. I said, hey, in this hand, you're going to hold the e-collar, and then you're going to have the long line, and you're going to work both of these things together. It was a little bit too soon. Too soon.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Right?
It is a lot going on, and we'll talk to Gary about this too. But I think what happens is obviously our memory is a little bit short, and you forget that when you had your first dog, things weren't as pretty. And I think now we get more handlers that come in to this, and they haven't really had a lot of dog experience. They haven't owned a dog, or maybe they didn't grow up with dogs. Like, it's just kind of, I think for a lot of us, growing up in the decades that you grew up in, like, dogs was your only form of entertainment. Now they have things like TVs.
Yeah, well, I mean, you had the T-Rex and the Velociraptor. I think you worked was your first animal.
Way back then, yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Model A.
Yeah, all that same stuff.
4 doors.
But I think, it does change people's interaction with dogs. That was one thing I was saying, like, hey, get down there, pet your dog, have a little fun with him. And I think that was an odd concept, right? Like, but it's a police dog. Can we do that? It's just a learning curve.
Well, it kind of goes against, like, most cops, right? We're a little stoic, and we put on the persona, and now we're like, you'll say, hey, find that little girl and then get in there and freaking start playing and show them that you like them. And it just doesn't come natural.
No, and they get, for their whole career, they get paid to be cool and be the person with all the answers, and you're in control. Yeah, and then that doesn't pass off to dogs well. Like, they need a little interaction, motivation, have some fun.
You can't fake it.
No, you can't fake it.
The dogs know.
Yeah, they definitely know. And they knew today, but it was good. We worked past it. The cool thing is they're all open-minded. They're out there trying their best. And it is fun to watch this progression, because when I come back a couple weeks from now, it'll be a completely different situation. And that's the good part about this whole thing, is watching them go from not being able to hold the e-collar on the long line to having fun with their dogs, getting some good tactical movement with the dogs. It's just fun to watch the progression.
And I'm ragging on them right now, but from day one, and I got to remember this, I always forget, we need to record, and any trainers out there, record your handlers on day one, because even this week was like marketably better. And they forget what they look like on day one. And I always like to make it, like, my analogy is, you're learning a new dance with a new dance partner, and you're stepping on each other's feet. You're not communicating. Your dog's saying one thing, you're saying another. Really, week 2 and 3, they start to come together as a team, and by the end, it's like, man, this is so rewarding.
They look so good, and they're working together, and it's and then you get to start it all over again for the next.
And we get a month break, and then we're back at it.
Awesome. So, a little bit of fanboying going on here today. I'm a big fan of our next guest and the stuff that he puts out, and I'm going to let him explain whether or not it's an apparel company or if he has a different name for it. But we have Gary with Worthless Handler with us today. Gary, seriously about that, like, I love the stuff that you put out. I think it puts a little lightheartedness into canine, and it lets people be a little grumpy about their position. Sometimes canine can be the redheaded stepchild of a department, for multiple reasons, and we'll talk about that as we continue with the conversation. But can you give yourself a little introduction for those people who are living under a rock and don't know you, and what you're doing and how you got into this position?
Yeah. First of all, thanks guys for having me on. I'm always blown away that people want to talk to me. I'm a blooming idiot that just likes dogs. So
you're in good company.
Worthless Handler is far larger than I thought it would ever be. Really it kind of came from getting crapped on by admin. My first chief actually wrote an email. It wasn't pertaining to dogs, but he ended the entire email calling the entire agency worthless. So that was the kind of, just a super great guy.
So he was the one that was right
sitting
and everybody else was wrong.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. You can ask him. He'll let you know. He called us worthless, treated us like absolute trash, and just patrol in general, especially the dogs. And so sitting around in a canine training day, just kind of like, I was a fresh handler, super motivated. I was like, this is my dream job. I've been on patrol for 5 years. You had to be on patrol for 5 years before you could go to dog selection. So I made that. So I was super excited. Like, this was my dream job. I get to go hunt people with a dog. Like, there's nothing more rewarding than that. And so I was super motivated I was like, brand new handler. I want a freaking canine shirt. Like, I'm a canine guy now. And every freaking canine shirt was the same. It was like skulls, crossbones, leashes, thin blue line, Punisher skulls. I was like, golly, like, I don't like looking like a cop when I'm off duty. Like, I like, everything's the same. I want something that doesn't scream, yo, I just arrested your baby daddy. Like, I want something cool that when canine dudes look at it, they're like, all right, yeah, I get it. So that's kind of where the idea started. And then while I was still trying to figure out the name and whatnot, my best friend and partner was shot and killed in the line of duty, Philip Meacham. And Worthless Handler was born I started the company officially on 4/18, which is his badge number. So it kind of started as a way to pay tribute to Philip. And if I'm being honest, it was a coping mechanism for me for a long time. It was a way for me to put emotions that I was ignoring after dealing with all of that and not understanding how to do all that. And hey, I'm just going to pump all my energy into Worthless Handler if I'm not at work. And not saying it was the healthiest thing, but it was just a way for me to cope. And then as I did that, it just kind of grew. And then I started to realize that, oh man, people around the country are experiencing a lot of the same issues that I'm having. And I'm super transparent. I'm not a secretive guy. It's probably what gets me in trouble with admin, because if I see something, I'm going to say something. And so I'm really open. Like, I'm open with my failures. I'm open where I screw up. I'm open with my successes. And I think other people are like, okay, I'm not in this alone. And I think it resonates. Yeah, big words. I think people are able to kind of relate to me that way. Kind of like going to war. If you go alone, it kind of sucks. But when you're with your buddies, war's not so bad. Like, going through hard stuff with good people makes it a lot better. So I feel like if I share some of my struggles and whatnot, other people that might be feeling alone or isolated and whatnot through their struggles, whether it's dog related or not, they can realize that, oh crap, there's other people going through some things too, and I'm not alone.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. And everybody out here wears your stuff. Everybody, everywhere I've been, every seminar, everybody is wearing your stuff. When we go to seminars and you're there, you and Matt, with you guys are kind of the life of the party, right? Like, it brings some fun into a career path that isn't always fun, right? Like law enforcement right now in general. I'm not talking about canine, but law enforcement right now in general kind of is getting its ass kicked. We can talk about,
absolutely,
if the president changes that view, but I just don't, who knows? But law enforcement, it's kind of getting their ass kicked. It's not, out here in California, we talked about it. There's several agencies that are offering huge signing bonuses. The only reason they're offering huge signing bonuses is because nobody wants to do the job, right? Like, to lure somebody in with a $50,000 signing bonus, $100,000 signing bonus to be a cop, which when I started, like, it was a fist fight to get a job, right? There's 300 people in the same room looking for 2 positions. And now there's 2 people in the room trying to fill 300 positions, right? Like, everything is upside down. Can't hire anybody. Politics take a big part of that. And I'm sure the story of California isn't much different than the rest of the nation as far as, hey, we're out there doing what you're telling us to do. We're taking people to jail. You're releasing them. There's a lot of oversight. There's a lot of politics involved. There's bad leadership at certain places. We've all dealt with that. And I think the cool thing for your business is that it allows those of us in the canine world to have a way to have fun with that. But I think really it's a bigger picture. I think you could have worthless cop and it would blow up, right? Like worthless handler covers us, but I think there's a lot of people out there that feel that same thing. Like, man, I'm doing everything you ask me to do, and it's still not good enough, and we're still the problem. And for me, we were talking about it, like what worthless handler means to me is the canine world kind of gets its ass kicked a little bit, and at departments especially, right? I would say they deploy more than any other specialty, definitely more than some more tactical units. They're out on the street all the time. They're being used for public relations. They're being used to catch bad guys. They're being used to find evidence, drugs, all those things. But we're the only group in the police departments that have to have a bake sale to exist, right? Like, hey, go get some stuffed animals and sell stuffed dogs. Go get some T-shirts and sell T-shirts. When you guys sell enough of those things, then you can go buy a leash or go to training. That's a problem.
Sure.
Once again, this episode is brought to you by INUKSHUK Professional Dog Food. There's only one brand of dog food that we use and recommend. That is INUKSHUK Professional Dog Food. INUKSHUK was created for working dogs and continues to be the top choice for all working dogs, from hunting dogs to sled dogs, and of course, police canines. Whether it be detection or patrol canines, visit INUKSHUKPro.com, or you can find all of the formulas on Chewy.com.
Sure. I mean, we see it on, even in the handler class, I'll be like, hey, who's got a gas mask, right? Half the handlers raise their hand. I'm like, are you, we deploy with SWAT, but, they don't give us our own gas mask. Or ears, right? Like they have to fight and scrape. And then even when it comes to being in a vest, right? Like a cover 6 or something like that, they're out there in their regular patrol stuff and they're right in the stack. I mean, it still happens. Like I think we've been playing this tune for a long time. Like if you're deploying with the SWAT team, you should have all the same gear, right? And we still have agencies out there that act like it's not in the budget. And, it's no secret that canines are on the front line. And if you are a canine, you are way more likely to be involved in an officer-involved shooting. You're the one that's actively searching while others are on the perimeter, and you're with the tactical team. And yet, Rich, like you said, like for whatever reason, like when it comes to funding, like we got to scrimp and save for some agencies. Like some agencies are doing it right. And we got some agencies out here that take care of their guys for sure. But we do still have that mentality, that old school mentality. And like to your point, Gary, I mean, I think your topic, your products, like it hits a chord with everybody, and it's funny because I remember listening to Working Dog Radio. Man, how many years ago was it when you were on there? You were on there briefly.
You can't find that podcast anymore.
You can't. It got pulled quickly because I was home. I was working around the property. I'm like, oh, let me listen to this. And I was like, oh, this guy's cool. Like, I like what he's saying. And then all of a sudden it was like, nope, it's gone. Can you talk a little bit about like just some of the trials and tribulations you've been through along the way?
Oh goodness, where do you want me to begin?
That's a good place to start. That podcast is a good place to start. And what happened? What was like the end result of that?
So that podcast, again, I went under completely anonymous. It wasn't even video. I went under with the name of Worthless Handler. Didn't say where I worked, even what state I worked in. I simply just talked about kind of the origin of the story, what my purpose is, and then some of the struggles that we are dealing with. Just a lack of support from administrations, whether it's backbone related or financial related, training related, but still tried to end everything with, hey, it doesn't matter. You can still be successful. It's going to take your own time and your own dime, but regardless of the support that you may get from your administration, you can still be street effective. And so unbeknownst to me at that time, the sergeant that was over the canine unit listened to it and forwarded it to the chief. And then I was actually on a attempt to locate on a dude with felony warrants, and I got signal forward or called back to the police department, and walked in, and my lieutenant's looking at me like, that look. And I go, what's going on? He goes, I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So they told me to go to the conference room, and I've got a major and a captain and the chief sitting there.
Never good.
And
like
then
that's never a good situation. You walk in there, you're like, crap, like this is not going to be a good conversation.
Not a good day. And it was the chief yelling at me for 30 minutes, screaming at me, cut me out and told me I'm put on immediately on admin leave. I am under IA investigation. My dog is removed. I'm out of the canine unit, and that he was going to seek termination, all from this podcast. I'm like, okay, well, that was rather quick.
Yeah, and this was
And
the
I
next.
am not
This was the next day after it aired, or how long was this after that podcast aired?
It was the same day.
Oh, same day. Okay.
Same day.
Yeah.
Yep. So I went home in a unmarked car that they gave me. No dog, nothing. My wife was pregnant with our third at the time. And I remember going in, sitting down on the stairs going, oh crap. Like I'm about to lose my career, that this is what I love. I just lost my dog. I lost the unit. I lost my passion. But most importantly, I'm losing the way that I'm providing for my family. And my wife is due in she was due in 2 months, and I was on our third. So mentally and emotionally, that was a struggle for me right then. I was like, oh, crap. Worthless handler just ended my career. So a lot of trying to figure that out. And that's actually how I started the ambassador program. Cause I was like, well, I can't really do my content. Maybe I can continue the mission that I have, or the purpose that I believe Worthless Handler has, but maybe kind of using it backdoor, third party, using some ambassadors to be able to still share content. That's how the ambassador program started. But I digress. So during the IA investigation, I started reading more into it about all the policies that they say I violated. The reality is I didn't. They were just because podcasting wasn't within policy. I'm a policy and a case law junkie. Like I'm going to read before I go make contact with violent people, before I go make calls. I'm going to know what I'm capable of. I'm going to know where I fit on the use of force. I'm pretty squared away on that end. And so when I started reading into the investigation that they had on me, I was like, they don't have what they think they have. And then they offered me, hey, you're allowed to, hire counsel if you need to. Kentucky is a right to work state, no unions. We have no protection. So I was like, but I was a member of the FOP. I said, well, you know what? I'm tired of getting railroaded. I'm going to call an attorney. So I called one, the FOP covered it. And I remember walking into the captain's office when they did my first IA interview with an attorney. And I could tell it ruffled feathers. I don't think that had been done before at our agency. Usually it's pretty much you take it. And usually the response is, if you don't like it here, there's the door, get out. So when I walked in with attorney, it was kind of like, oh crap. Oh, okay. He's fighting this. Long story short, it went all the way down. They got rid of absolutely everything, found I didn't violate anything except one policy, and the entire threat of termination was brought all the way down to a written warning. So
did you stay?
Yeah,
did you stay at that agency?
I stayed for another year and a half or 2 years. Oh wait, no. 2 or 3 years. I had a hard time leaving because I felt an obligation to remain there, because of Philip. So I felt like Philip's not here anymore. I got to stay here. This is, I don't know if that makes sense, but for me, like when they took the dog away from me, that was my last tangible thing I had of Philip, because Philip used to be a prior handler when he was with another agency. He was come to training days on his day off and come help us work dogs. He'd work my first dog, Kuno, while we're on duty. So when the dog got taken from me, that was a hard hit of just the aspect of Philip's memory. And then I felt like I couldn't leave the agency again because of Philip. And then I had a weird like internal obligation that I was like, I can still do good things. There's a lot of young guys here that are, I'm not trying to sit on a high horse, but doing some dumb things tactically and just absolute shenanigans. I was like, I can do better. But eventually I was like, it's not right here anymore. I I believe God was calling me to another place. And so I was offered a position at another agency, and I left there.
What, out of curiosity, what policy violation did they get you on?
Oh gosh, I think it was an absolute generic, like a code of conduct type thing,
unbecoming of some sort. Yeah.
Yeah, some BS.
Always say nice things about the agency. It's kind of you got to always say nice things about the agency. Yeah.
But like you said, you didn't create a nexus with that agency, because I remember listening to the podcast and it was like I had no idea where you worked and what state. So
somebody had to deep dive. Somebody had to really care about making you uncomfortable at that point.
Yeah, and again, it wasn't me attacking the agency at all. It was, hey, these are the problems, a lack of support and whatnot. But I tried to, hey, you can still be successful. You can still do this. So it was definitely attack on the chief's ego. That's the way he took it. But it wasn't my intention. My intention was to just share the story. But everything happens for a reason. So
let's talk about some fun stuff then. We'll get out off the Debbie Downer stuff. You obviously still love dogs. I see you posting all the time. You're obviously working with dogs a lot. You're doing some training. Like, what, aside from making cool ass gear, what are you doing with dogs right now? Like, what's your role? Are you training? Are you just hanging out with your dog, helping other agencies? What's going on?
Yeah, hanging out with my dog and helping some other local agencies as well. Shoot, that's basically it. I kind of feel like the worthless handler thing to me, or for what I say, is I'm manufacturing morale. So there's like two sides of it. I want to make people laugh because the job sucks. And everybody wants to. I'm trying to break the ego thing down. Like if you come to me in seminars, like we've seen each other at conferences, I'm a freaking goofball. I want to have fun. I want to break down the walls of, we're all freaking hard. We all got our Cry Precision on, and like, I get it. We're all super cool. We do cool things, but at the end of the day, like we can have a good time. So like when I go to seminars, I wear like Britney Spears shirts and stupid crap. I'll be the first one to grab my dog and work a scenario. I'm trying to like, guys, we're all on the same page here. Like Jay Nick says, fail with your friends. Like that environment, that training environment, that's a place to fail. Like stop being I don't want people to see my deficiencies or see me fail. Like, guys, like we're here to help each other. This is the best environment to do it in. So, so that's that part of it, is the morale of, hey, try to bring some joy in a really crappy environment and society right now, what we're dealing with. And then the other side is the training aspect, trying to get guys to think maybe some of the decisions that they're making with their dogs tactically or training wise. So that I don't even remember your question. Again, when we had this, when we were texting, I said, you're going to have to deal with my ADHD. I might go off on a tangent and completely forget, which I already forgot your question, but
that's right. You were in the middle of answering it. So you're doing perfectly unbeknownst to you.
Okay, good deal.
No, the question was like what you're doing with dogs and in the dog industry besides the worthless handler. Obviously, you're still part of training. You're helping some other agencies out. Do you have a dog right now that is capable of working? Like, do you have a training dog?
Yeah, Bolo. Absolutely.
Yeah. Are you using that dog?
Yeah,
like when you're going go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, I still have Bolo. He was when the nonprofit donated him to me. It was to me, not the agency. So he came with me when I left the second agency. So Bolo is my second dog. Still with me. We still run tracks 1 to 2 times a week. Just getting my teeth kicked in right now. So he's not getting as much training as he deserves or that I would like to get on him right now. But we are still doing our daily, control, obedience, things like that. And then I run tracking and bite work as much as I can.
Tell me again what you're calling the business now. So that was the first question I had on as far as like, is it an apparel business? But you called it what'd you just call it?
I just say I manufacture morale. So I'm really terrible about selling my own product. My wife is really, she's like, you need to post your things you sell. Like, and my ambassadors are really like, hey, will you sell? I'm really bad about asking people for money. I have a weird feeling like, hey, buy my stuff. It makes me feel awkward. I feel like my purpose or the true passion comes from trying to share something that might save a life. either a dog's life, a handler's life, a civilian's life. Like the most rewarding part is like, how can I, like the medical Monday stuff, like guys, you need to know how to treat your dogs, how to carry the proper equipment, know how to use it, all the different things that I try to share. That's where I'm like, oh man, that one piece just might help somebody. If it helps one person, man, the entire mission of Worthless Handlers is a huge accomplishment to me. So I mean, I'm surrounded by all my product. I run this thing out of the room above my garage, and don't get me wrong, I'm 100% deeply humbled when somebody purchases my stuff. It's also the reason I have been allowed to walk away from law enforcement recently, is because Worthless Handler. Like I'm freaking beyond blessed and humbled by the support that I've received. But if I'm being completely honest, I believe the passion is just being able to share information that I receive from other people or my own experiences that might help somebody else.
Who comes up with your designs? There's some cool. I love the Blue Falcon coin, and I've personally handed them out while on duty. One of my favorites, and it's kind of a nice gesture to somebody who just freaking somebody who stopped you from getting to use your dog.
Chicken blocked.
Yeah, chicken blocked. Yeah,
I love the world's okayest decoy, where he's sitting there with the sleeve and the dog's biting him in the leg. I mean, it's an oldie but a goodie. So it's funny too, because it's like I used to come up with shirt. You always think you can come up with a good shirt or something good, and you're like, oh, I got a great idea, and it comes out, and you're like, that just freaking sucks, So like when you were coming out with your stuff in the beginning, I'm like, God dang it, like it's
on fire,
man. You do have a gift in that. I mean, Gary, talking like your passion is there, but you were talking about like your wife being kind of the marketing person or something, but like. No, your designs and the fact that where it's coming from the heart, like you're sincere, and it just comes through in your product. Like so, it's awesome to hear.
Well, thank you. Yeah, a lot of the product just comes from a lot of pain and trauma, I guess. Getting railroaded on things and whatnot, because there's a lot of admin related stickers and whatnot. But yeah, I probably like high functioning autistic or something, because all these things come in my head, and I have like notes on the amount of like product ideas I have on my phone is ridiculous. So I don't know. A lot of it's all experience based. Like, let me reach. I'm next to my stickers. So like the standard stickers, ours above theirs, with standards in the middle. That came from a meeting. The captain called us in, said, hey, I know you guys train 4 days a month. You get every Wednesday. We're taking 2 of those away to go back to our old days. And we're like, what? You're taking away training? And yeah, we're going to go back to how it used to be. That's the way it used to be. So we're going to go back to that. You guys don't need that much. SWAT only gets 2 days a week. So you guys don't need that. And I was like, but so you want us to lower our standards, was our response. Well, yes, we need you to lower it a little bit. I'm like, dear God, like you're telling us to lower our standards with arguably the highest liability asset an agency has. Like, this is mind blowing. Like we have little furry chainsaws, and who we can't speak English to, like a SWAT operator. Don't do that. And we've got to be able to communicate and really hash out deficiencies and create advancements within teams in a unit environment 2 times a month, and you expect flawless execution on the street. So that's where that sticker came from. So a lot of it's just all what we've experienced, me and other handlers. Some ideas have come from other handlers, like Jesus Take the Lead. A handler from Florida was tracking a bad dude and fell in the swamp. And as he was falling, his body cam catches him saying, Jesus Take the Lead. I was like, that's friggin' hilarious. I'll just, so just random things of some people send me ideas, but most of it's just me laying in bed, unable to sleep and designing stuff.
What's your favorite design? What's your favorite design that you've put out so far?
Oh goodness. I would say one of my most recent ones was the No Friend to a Sold Soul.
Hold on.
Which is the dog holding a snake.
There it is.
There you go.
That one resonated.
That's it.
That one resonated with me. I understand the message. and
Yep.
I love it. And you can wear that and not directly offend anybody. But I feel like if you're the target of that, you know who you are anyway. Hey, we'd like to welcome our new sponsor and old friend, Blackjack's Leather. Blackjack's is the true definition of a mom and pop shop. They're out in Illinois. Richard, the owner, is somebody that we work extensively with. They make leather leashes, leather collars, biothane. We get a ton of biothane from them. Biothane 3 foot, 6 foot, 20 foot, 30 foot leashes, all kinds of colors. I know everybody that's listening to the podcast is into the tactical with the greens and the coyotes and the blacks. But if you have a pet dog at home and you want your dog to be a little flashy, we love their long line biothane leashes. There's blues, there's pinks, there's oranges, yellows, all kinds of colors. Add a little flash to your program. And they really care about canine handlers. They're big on making sure that the equipment that they sell is safe for the dog and safe for the handler, and exactly what you're asking for. Blackjack's Leather, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you.
Yep. So that one, again, yeah, that resonates with me. I think you're going to have to keep me from going off on a tangent again, but the lack of integrity within law enforcement these days is overwhelming. So that was a hit. That was a big one to me. So that one's probably my current favorite design.
One thing, and you were talking about it a little bit earlier, as far as a right to work state, and you and I have talked about this in the past in California. And I know there's 49 other states out there who think they know kind of how things work in California, and we're a certain type of cop. And I don't know if you've been out here or not, but a lot of those are, I think, mostly in jest and kind of, just making fun of the California cops. The reality is in California, because nobody stays in jail, we're busy. All the
100%.
all the real bad guys are still out on the streets because they just don't stay locked up. But we have a benefit in California of having a police officer Bill of Rights, and that means we are protected in the type of situation that you dealt with. And as we have been doing this podcast, Gregg and I have talked to a lot of people in a lot of states. Eric Stambro is a great friend of mine. Talked to Jay. We talk to a lot of people who are at will for their entire career. And when you're at will, that's a scary place to be. That means I don't need a lot of reason to fire you. And
Right.
law enforcement in general, canine work on top of that, allows for a lot of errors, right? Like we can't be right all the time. And I think most people are really trying, but having that cloud that hangs over you that, hey, if you make one mistake and we don't like it, then we can just get rid of you without any real process.
So stressful.
That's a scary,
Yeah.
no wonder so many guys are taking, guys and gals are taking their lives, like leaving the career. I don't know if you know Aaron Taylor, but Aaron Taylor, I own Ridgeside Canine, and Aaron Taylor pulled away from law enforcement because of the stress coming from administrations and the lack of coverage. And his whole thing is like, hey, I want to provide an entrepreneurial opportunities for cops and military to be able to leave those negative situations and do something positive with their life. We don't deal with that whole at-will thing out here in California, and thank God, because we all make mistakes, and it's like I said, it's an easy profession to make mistakes in, and having the protection of the police officer Bill of Rights in California. And if you live in any of the other states and you don't have that, and you can find a way to meet some politician in your state and get some type of coverage for police officers, having that in California is huge. I mean, and maybe sometimes we retain people that should be fired because it's not a perfect process. But man, like not having to work as an at-will employee for 25, 30, 35 years of your career is beneficial to cops, right? Like we don't have to worry about guys getting fired just because somebody doesn't like them. Like something bad has to happen and then you have to prove it.
Right. Yeah. The stress and anxiety that administrators can put on people, I feel, is a far heavier burden than the stressors of dealing with the public that doesn't like you. Like the first decade of my career, I worked in the hood. They didn't like me. It was part of the job. It didn't affect me. But when you deal with an administrator, when you deal with rank that just they don't like you, so they're going to do everything they can to try to get you out the door and make your life miserable. It's a completely different environment. It's completely different stress. It sucks when the street doesn't like you and your own administration doesn't like you.
Sure, and I think you hit the nail on the head earlier. Like you're talking about your livelihood, and it's not just you, right? Most guys have a family and house payment and everything else, all this other stuff weighing upon you. So you're out there making split-second decisions. You're trying to do the best you can, and then if the administration doesn't have your back per se, like that's a tough position. So it's not an easy job, and like you said, Rich, I think we're a little spoiled in California because of all the protections, and it has kind of. There are some people in law enforcement that probably shouldn't be with all those protections, but like handling a dog out on the street, knowing you have those protections, knowing an administration has your back, makes all the difference in the world. So actually handlers out there, if you're looking for agencies to work at, I recommend, if you're a prospective wanting to get into law enforcement or you want to work a dog, go do ride-alongs with the guys and kind of get the inside of like what's the department culture. Because even in Northern California, we have a wide variety of culture and administrations. And there's some agencies that I'm like, man, I would work here all day long. I came from one. I was really fortunate. And then there are some agencies where I would not go there on a bet.
No. And it's hard. I mean, and it's hard. Like we talked about it, Gary. The politics out here are a little difficult. And I think across the nation now, I don't think we are anything different than everybody's dealing with. I mean, we watch Virginia and New York and Colorado. Like there's just a lot of people doing police work in states where maybe police work isn't valued. I guess that's the nice way of putting it. But a lot of guys and gals are doing police work in states where they just don't want you to do that job. But then there's an expectation that you're doing that job. And it's like, which way? California is a good example, right? Like, hey, everybody go out and fight crime. Up until recently, you could go into a store in California, you could steal $950 worth of stuff. You could have a pocket full of meth, a pocket full of heroin, and you're going to get a ticket. Yep. That's
wild.
Yeah, it sends a pretty good message to the criminals out there that like, none of this really matters. I'm sure you've seen the videos. People walk into a store in San Francisco, just pour a bunch of stuff into the bag, walk out, nobody stops them. And a couple of them, they walked right by a patrol car, got in their car and left.
Yep.
And then your bosses are saying like, hey, go out there, be productive, pull some people over and fight crime. And you're like, okay, I'll do my part. But what about the DA? What about the voters? What about the governor? What, like all of these, like it's hard to make everybody happy, right? Like, all right, I'm going to go be productive. Hey, that guy just got released and I'm not done writing my report yet. What do you want me to do? Like, what am I supposed to do in this situation? And I think this goes back again to your business. It just lets us have some fun because sometimes you just have to laugh, right? Sometimes you're like, can you believe that I'm a cop and that guy just stole $1,000 worth of stuff from that member of your community at a store that you shop in, and I have to go in there tomorrow and grab a cup of coffee? Oh, and I just let that person off on a ticket that stole $1,000 from the small business owner that's barely squeaking by. It's crazy.
It's wild.
And I think sometimes you're just like, all right, man, like let's put on the shirt, make us laugh at it. And like I said, maybe there's a bigger picture. Maybe there is a worthless cop a brand out there that you're missing the big money on, because I feel like we all feel that way sometimes. And the reason why Gregg and I do the podcast is we want to give, same thing like what you're doing. We want to give something to handlers, to supervisors, to trainers out there. Maybe we get somebody on that knows a little bit about some dog stuff, and it was information that somebody didn't get in the middle of Indiana or in Nevada, and like, hey, now you can get it, right? Here's that information. Here's a phone number. Here's an email for that guy. You can reach out to him, and we can all grow together.
Absolutely.
Hey, a couple quick things. Number one, I'm still waiting for the worthless trainer shirt. I haven't seen that come out yet. But when it does, we're going to buy one.
It's every shirt you wear.
Number two, you talked about your ambassador program. What is that?
Well, it sounds far more official than it truly is. It's really just a group of friends. So like I said, it was kind of a way to me to supplement some content to where I could keep Worthless Handler alive as I was going through all those issues with my first agency. So I just wanted to be able to give people different perspectives. So I had handlers from all over the country, and to try to be able to give what they're experiencing, an opportunity to use the Worthless Handler platform to share that. So like somebody in LA, the tactics and resources and everything that they have to solve a problem with their dog is not going to be the same that I have. We see a lot on tactics like, all right, we got a barricade, let's gas, let's send drones, let's send robots, and I'm over here like, I got me and a dog and no backup. Like I am the solution. But I know that does not apply to everybody. Like on the East Coast and in Florida, they got massive amount of resources. So I wanted to be able to try to give people that have different areas of operation and have different amount of resources and opportunity to share what they have and give them the platform. So like Sarah down in Hawthorne, and I got Jay Nix in Florida and Gooseby and all these different people that are able to use the platform whenever they want to share something. So that's kind of what it became, or that was the purpose, I should say. And it's just kind of selfishly just turned into a group of my best friends. Like I talk to most of my ambassadors on a daily basis. And a lot of them have been through a lot. They've known a lot of what I've been through and been a huge asset and resource and support system for me. I mean, selfishly, it's really just a network of really close friends now. But the purpose was and still is to give them an opportunity to share kind of different perspectives for other people.
I think that's huge. Greg and I were talking about that today. I was actually, before I came in to record, I was on the phone with Jay Nix. I was on the phone with Stambro. So I own a Ridgeside canine. And really, for me, the main reason I own a Ridgeside canine is so I have access to all the other owners of a Ridgeside canine. We got Brady doing the medical stuff. We've got Stambro loves the tone stuff. Lily's amazing at tracking. We got Jay Nix, who's great at tactics. Like I can get on the phone any given minute and reach out to those guys and pick their brain. I started working for Gregg because I wanted, like, he is the best in the region where I'm at training police dogs. And I didn't care about the money. I wanted to be able to pick his brain and understand what was going on. And having a list of people that you're like, man, I'm having a dog problem, and that you can reach out to and get that answer. I mean, it's not 1980 anymore, right? Like you don't have to dial the rotary phone. Like I can immediately, and I can do a group call, right? I can have Jay and Lily on the phone at the same time. Like it's pretty cool. And for those of you that are anywhere in the country and you have internet, like you don't have to adhere to one person's knowledge anymore. Like those days are over. There's so much information out there. And I feel like, and this is for the trainers. If you're a trainer and you're telling your guys to not look anywhere else for information, and you're scolding them when they do, or they go to a seminar, or they take their own money. And we know a few that have come to you and other places, and they take their own money and they go somewhere to learn something, and then they bring it back, and you tell them never to bring any information back from another unit, not to go to another unit. And if we find you training with anybody else, you're going to be removed from the unit. Like, what are you hiding? Like, what if you're that trainer and you're telling your guys not to go anywhere else? If I was under that trainer, I would bail as fast as I could. Obviously, you can't leave your unit. You can't, if you want to keep your dog, you have to play by the rules. But I would start wondering, and I would start asking questions as to, like, why are you? So I had a jiu-jitsu instructor at one point, and he was the same way, right? He said, hey, if you go anywhere else, like, don't bring that stuff back here. I was training at both places. He found out that I was training across town, and he dumped my membership. And the thing was he was absolutely did not want me learning from anybody else and coming in and beating his guys, or showing something and making it look like he didn't have the information. And I think that applies to canine trainers who don't want other people looking somewhere. I know Gregg, I've worked for Gregg, I work with Gregg. Gregg's like, fuck yeah, go out, find somebody, tell us what they're doing, bring it back. We'll look at it. If it's great, we'll use it. If it sucks, we won't. But our mind's open to anything. Like we were both like, I don't know anything about this tone thing. Stambro and Aaron brought it to us, and we're like, I don't really know. We've messed with it for a year, and now we use tone on every dog that goes through the basic. And it took us a while to get, but that came from somebody else, and we had to have an open mind to believe that that was going to work. So again, and I know I'm on a soapbox about this, but if you have a trainer, or you are the trainer that doesn't want your guys going anywhere else, you need to look in the mirror and figure out what you're hiding.
Yeah, big red flag. I mean, we've had Mike Nesbitt come out for 3 days and go, look at the unit, tell us where we're falling short. Like, what do you see, right?
Yeah.
Open the door. And hopefully you can have that relationship with other trainers in the area. I know it gets tough, but like, have somebody else, because people have come in and I've actually sat back and watched them work the dogs, and I'm like, shit, that didn't look good. Like, that's almost freaking embarrassing. Like, we need to fix that, right? Because you get so tunnel vision in what you're doing that just stepping back and letting somebody else do, work the dogs or watch the dogs perform in different scenarios, like it's what it's all about. And to your point, Gary, like at the end of the day, the training should be about the guys going home safe at the end of the shift, and we got to move our egos aside and make it all about that. And if it's all about that, then your heart's in the right place and we push forward. So it shouldn't matter if you're getting input from outside sources. You should actually welcome it.
Are you seeing that, Gary? Are you seeing that kind of in your world where there's some training groups that are walled off because they don't want to be exposed?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, I'd like to thank one of our sponsors, Ray Allen Manufacturing. They've been engineering tactical and working dog equipment like harnesses, collars, leashes for military police for over 75 years. They are continuously innovating. I always like to say, this is not your dad's Ray Allen. They are always looking for the bigger and the better. We get all of our handlers now in the basic handler course deal directly with Ray Allen. We get our harnesses, leashes, tugs, e-collars, gloves, Rec Specs, Hearing Dog Pro. All of our good stuff comes from Ray Allen Manufacturing. Look them up, rayallen.com. I cannot recommend them enough. We only recommend people that we deal with, and these are good people, and they're in it for the right reasons. So because of that, rayallen.com.
And the problem is, I should say, we know what the problem is. They are forced to, again, spend their own time, step away from their families on their days off, and to go to try to progress their team, like in hiding, which is just wild. I get the amount of DMs and whatnot I get of, hey, do you have like an idea of how to, what can I do because my trainer won't let me do this? My trainer won't let me go to other trainings. I get that all the time. It's wild. One of my, I'll give suggestions on how to navigate some of that. Again, a lot of it's on your own time. I have spent a lot of my own time and money doing just that, going on my days off. But I will say the biggest plus of social media is everything's online now, and you are able to get some really solid information from some really genuine, smart trainers out there. You've said all their names, Nesbitt and Lily and all those guys. So I will say that I think the bright side of the social media is the information's there. You just got to be careful about who you follow and listen to, because there is some shenanigans out there. But I also think that people are you can kind of read through it and see who's genuine and who is not. Worthless Handler has given me kind of the opportunity to network with some great people, all those same names, to where every time I have a struggle, I have somebody to call. And that's because of social media. I had what I believed was a deficiency with Bolo on some bite work. I went on my days off, drove for 4 hours to go see a seminar that night Mike Nesbitt was doing, got some bite work done, and him telling me, bro, quit trying to solve problems that don't exist. You're being, and my second shooting, Bolo was involved in the shooting as well. I called Gooseby, hey man, this is what happened. Like, pick this apart, like help me. And Gooseby's like, call me right now. And we chatted for a while. I had what I believed was an odor problem. I called Cameron Ford, and he's like, hey man, film me some videos of you working some odor. I filmed videos. We talked back and forth. Hey, do this, do that. That is the power of social media on the good side. Like, there are some phenomenal people out here that are 1000% willing to help you at the drop of a hat without, without anything for themselves. And those are the people that you need to follow. And I think it's pretty easy to find out who those people are. I stay away from most of the forums, the Facebook groups. There's some great information on there, but sometimes you post a question and you just get ridiculed. And a lot of it, you could tell, like the anonymous posting. I post something anonymously, got a question, and they get ridiculed for it. Like, guys, maybe they just don't know. Maybe they don't have the resources. Maybe they're brand new to the unit. Quit being a prick to people, and just, if you don't have something productive to say that might help that team, then just don't type anything. So I try to avoid the drama. I'd stay off most of the forum pages, and just try to stick with people that I believe genuinely want to see the community thrive.
I noticed that you collab with a couple other businesses. Obviously, I've seen you with Ray Allen a lot. Besides getting worthless stuff from you and the website, where else is your stuff at? Like who all are you working with?
To get worthless handler gear, I'm the only place.
Oh,
So I sell direct from me only. I've done a couple collabs. I'm super picky on it, so I don't do a lot of collabs very often. But yeah, if you want something from me, I'm the only place to get it. I'm not on Amazon and Etsy. Even though
there's some
China gear,
there's some cool Chinese worthless gear. The problem is you order a double XL of your worthless shirt and it comes as a schmedium, and you're not making any money from it.
Shrinks all the way up to here. Where do you wash it?
I saw you.
Yep.
I saw you showed that on your social media a couple weeks ago, where there's some fakes, and I guess that's. I mean, props to you. Somebody thinks your shit's cool enough that they want to fake it and sell it on Amazon, but
right?
But pretty fucked up.
Yes, I made it.
Yeah, I guess you.
Congratulations.
So go through most of your, besides shirts and stickers, what else is on the website? What else can we get from you?
Shirts, stickers, hats, patches, flags. And then I do like the canine medical guide. If you don't have, I think every handler should have that. That's, basically that kind of stuff. I do short runs. Like I just did my own skateboard deck, some random stuff like that. I do, but most of it is all apparel or patch related.
That's cool. We love your stuff. We love the story, right? Like I think every handler has some frustrations, every cop has some frustrations, and you just give everybody kind of a funny way to let that frustration out without just, going out and kicking rocks and being pissed off all the time. Like, hey, I can throw on the shirt and everybody kind of gets it, and that makes me feel good about it. And that's my little bit of defiance, so I don't lose my job, and then I can go about my business, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, some of us need to have that, and just wearing a worthless handler shirt into work sometimes is like, hey, what's that supposed to mean? Like, I don't know, whatever you want it to mean, and then just keep walking,
Yep.
right? And let it be that. So I think it's good for people. I think it's good for people to kind of take off that armor a little bit and just be silly. And I love whenever you're at a seminar, because you always create silly. And I think cops need to be, I mean, we talk about it when it comes to rewarding a dog, right? Like, you just need to be a little more silly. Like we're serious enough all the time. The job requires us to be serious. Let's just have some fun with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you should be able to switch it on and off, just like you're doing transition drills with the dog. When it's time to work and you're on an operation, cool, handle business. But when you're not, it's okay to relax and let your guard down and have a good time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and like the people like our sponsors, right? People we've partnered with, Ray Allen being one of them, INUKSHUK, right? Blackjack's Leather now.
Yeah.
You fall right into that line of like, guys, listeners, if you're, those of you that are out there, like you're the type of individual that we want to buy these things from, right? Your heart's in the right place. You're doing it for the right reasons. So not that you need our plug, because obviously you're
doing just fine without
you're
it.
doing okay. You're doing okay.
No, thank you.
But no,
Thank you.
dude, I really appreciate the sentiment in which you do what you do. And this you're exactly the type of individual that this industry should be supporting and getting around. So thank you for
that.
for doing that. No, yeah.
Last question, and I'm sure everybody knows by now, but just in case they don't, how do they find your equipment?
Worthlesshandler.com. Or Instagram, Facebook, Worthless Handler.
Do you have, I should know this, do you have shopping links on both social medias? Can I go to Instagram and hit a shop link to get to your stuff? Or will it just send you to the website?
Yep,
or did
absolutely.
Okay, cool. Awesome. We really appreciate it. I know it was short notice, and I know you were like, I don't have anything to talk about. We're into this an hour. You had plenty to talk about. The story resonates with all of us. The equipment resonates with all of us. We appreciate you. Definitely stay involved in our industry. Our industry needs people like you, and I think it's a benefit to all of us. Thank you. Appreciate it. In the meantime,
Train hard
and be safe.